My name's Alycia and I'm a camp counselor with the city of Cambridge, and in today's video we're going to be learning how to do one craft 3 different ways. One of my favorite ways to stay in touch with all of my friends while I'm staying at home and social distancing is to send them cards in the mail. So in today's craft, we're going to be learning 3 really cool and unique designs that you can use to DIY your own cards that you could send to your friends or give to maybe your sister or brother or mom or dad or someone you live with, or you could even just make the cards and keep them for yourself as an awesome room decoration. So let's go ahead and get started. First things first, here's all the materials you'll need to make today's craft. You're going to need some type of cardboard, and recycled cardboard works great for this craft. I'm going to be recycling this old cookie box, but you could use a Kleenex box or a cereal box, or any type of this thin cardboard is going to work great as a recycled material for this craft. Next up, you're going to need some plain paper, construction paper, lined paper, anything like that will work. Thirdly, some newspaper. So I'll be using these old flyers that came in the mail, or you could even use maybe the comic section of your newspaper too. One of our designs will be using tissue paper, so you can use any color you like. And then let's get into some of the supplies now. You're going to need a ruler, a pencil, and a pair of scissors. You are going to need some type of glue or tape, so white glue, glue stick, or sticky tape. And then finally, you're going to have to pick what you'd like to use to decorate your craft. So I'll be using my markers today. You could also use crayons or pencil crayons, or if you have paint at home and you like to paint, use that. Or if you have stickers at home, you can also use stickers. One more thing, if you'd like to actually put your cards in the mail and send them to your friends once you're finished with them, you are definitely going to need an envelope as well as some postage stamps so that you can put them in the mailbox. Here's a sneak peek at the 3 different designs that we'll be learning in this video. The first one is an acrostic poem made out of recycled newspaper. The second one is this really pretty mosaic design with tissue paper. And the last one is a lettering technique where we use a little flower design to create some really cool letters. Alright, so now before we get started on actually decorating our cards, we need to make our cards first. So to do this, we're going to be using that recycled cardboard, and as you can see, I've already cut my box open. So what I'm going to do is I want to cut this into a little card shape. So I'm going to trace out my envelope onto the cardboard with my pencil and making sure that I'm tracing a rectangle that's just a little bit smaller than my envelope so that my cardboard card can fit inside the envelope when we're done. Feel free to pause the video whenever you like so that you can complete the steps. I've already cut out my cardboard, so once you finish tracing your envelope with your pencil and cutting it out, you're going to have some little rectangles that look something like this. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't really want my cards to look like they were made of an old cereal box or cookie box. So our next step is going to be tracing out these little rectangles onto our plain white paper. So we're going to do the same thing as before. We're going to place our rectangle on top and we're just going to trace it out with the pencil. And we're going to cut it out. And once we're finished, you're just going to want to glue the paper rectangle onto both sides of your cardboard rectangle so it's fully covered in paper. Pause the video and come back when you're finished. So I'm using a glue stick to glue my paper onto my cardboard. And one special trick that I like to do to make sure that I don't get any wonky wrinkles when I'm gluing is I actually like to use my ruler to smooth everything out. So what I'll do is I'll put my glue on the cardboard and then I'll kind of tap on the paper and then I'll use my ruler like this to smooth it out and make sure there's no wrinkles. So I'm actually just going to smooth it out on the table here using my ruler and kind of just push all those wrinkles to the edges. And that way, once everything's glued together, you get a super smooth result. It's a great trick to do. Awesome. So once you're all finished cutting and gluing, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. It's got the blank paper on both sides and the cardboard in the middle to keep it nice and sturdy. All right, now's the fun part. Now we get to decorate our cards. So for this first design, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using these newspapers, and we're going to be cutting out the letter of your friend's name or whoever the recipient of your card is. You're gonna look through your newspaper and see if you can find big letters to spell out your name. You're gonna find those letters and then go ahead and cut them out. Okay guys, look at this. I found all of the letters that I needed. So cool. All right, and now I'm just going to glue them onto my card. And what I'm going to do for my friend Sarah is I think I'm actually going to glue my letters going top to bottom. And after I glue them on, I'll show you why. All right, look at that. I'm all done. So I have glued my letters top to bottom, and I kind of overlapped them a little bit because I thought it would look really cool that way. And so now that I've glued on my friend Sarah's name, I'm going to turn it into an acrostic poem. So if you're not familiar with what an acrostic poem is, what we're going to do is we're going to think of an adjective or a describing word that starts with each letter of her name, and then we're going to write them out horizontally while her name goes vertically. So to describe my friend Sarah, I might say that she is S for spontaneous, A for awesome, R for really great friend, the second A for always there to help me, and what should we do for the H? Maybe helpful? That could be a good one. I think that describes my friend Sarah very well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write out all of these describing words to her name, and it's going to create a really cool design for the front of this card. All right, so I've finished writing out all of my words for my acrostic poem here, and now the last thing left to do is to decorate this card. So this is where you can just let your creativity go and decorate however you like. I'm going to use Sarah's favorite colors, which are pink and orange, because I know she likes them. I'm going to do some little, what am I going to do? I'm going to draw some little squiggles on here, some lines. You could draw a picture of yourself with your friend. That would be cool. Whatever you're feeling for the decorations. This is where if you have stickers at home, you could add stickers onto here, or if you're not using markers, go ahead and use crayons or paint or whatever material you prefer. It would also be cool if maybe in the newspaper flyer that you were cutting out of, if you found maybe a picture of something that your friend likes, you could cut that out and glue it on here as well. I was using a grocery store flyer, and I know that Sarah really likes strawberries. It's her favorite fruit. So you could, if you found a picture of strawberries, maybe glue that on. Ah, this is looking so cute. I added some outlines. What else do we want? Maybe I'm gonna draw some flowers actually on here. Awesome. All right, so design number 1. Here's my finished product. I have my friend Sarah's name from the newspaper cuttings. I've got my acrostic poem, and I did a little extra decoration around the edges. On the back is where you can write your friend an awesome message for them, especially from you, and then it's all ready to be sent. All right, next up is our tissue paper mosaic design. And this is probably the messiest design out of all 3 of them, but it's really, really fun and looks really cool at the end. So what you're gonna need for this one is your tissue paper. I'm gonna be using yellow, pink, and green because I really like those colors, but go for whatever colors you like. If you don't have tissue paper at home, another great alternative is to use that newspaper that we used in the first design. See how there's lots of cool colors in the flyer or even in the comic section of the newspaper? You can just cut out squares from those different colors and use that to create a cool mosaic collage instead of tissue paper. I'll be using tissue paper for mine though. So the first step that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to cut that tissue paper into little squares, and they're going to look like this once you cut them out. So just little squares about 1 inch by 1 inch, or the size of an ice cube, let's say. And once you get your squares, you're also going to, of course, need your cardboard card that we made at the beginning. Now for this one, I only covered one side of the cardboard with my white paper because this side we're going to be covering with tissue paper anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So you've got your tissue paper, you've got your cardboard, and then the last thing you're going to need for this design is some white glue or liquid glue. And what we're going to do is I've got a little cup here with some water in it. So we're just going to mix a little bit of water with a little bit of glue and mix that together to create kind of like a watery glue solution. So let me just open up my glue here. As you can see, I don't have very much water in my cup. I just have a tiny, tiny little bit. You don't need much. And then I'm going to pour my glue in here. Ooh. Once again, you don't need very much glue. I just put a tiny little bit. And then I'm using a paintbrush, but if you don't have a paintbrush at home, you could use a popsicle stick, or maybe a toothpick, or a plastic straw if you have one of those. And I'm just going to mix my glue into my water until it's fully combined. Perfect. All right, and now that you have, you're gonna want it to be about half glue and half water. So maybe ask your adult at home to help you measure that out if you're having trouble. And once we've mixed that together, what we're gonna do is we're going to be creating a really cool mosaic pattern with our tissue paper by gluing it onto our cardboard here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start off by taking my paintbrush. Or another alternative to a paintbrush would be a Q-tip, maybe would work as well. So I'm going to dip that in my glue solution, and I'm just going to kind of paint a little bit of glue onto my cardboard here. You really don't need much, just a little bit. And also a great idea is to put down some old newspaper on your table so you don't accidentally get glue on your table, because no one wants that. And then once I've painted a little glue onto my cardboard here, I'm going to put on the tissue paper. And it should start to stick onto the glue there, you can see. And then I'm just going to use my brush. I don't need any extra glue because there's already some on here, but I'm just going to use my wet brush to kind of pat down the tissue paper until it's fully on there, like that. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to just repeat those same steps. Put a little more glue on there, and I'm going to choose a different color of tissue paper. I'm going to choose pink this time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on so it overlaps with the green. And I'm just going to paint it over top. We want it to go overlapping. So we have multiple layers going on. And I'm just going to keep going, painting, tissue papering, and dabbing it on until I have lots and lots of squares all overlapping with each other. As you go along, you're also going to want to have some of your squares go over the edge of your cardboard. Going over the edge is a-okay, because that way, at the end, what we'll do after it dries is we'll just kind of cut off the edges that are hanging off the end of the cardboard and have a nice clean edge to your collage. So this is going to take me a while. It'll probably take you a while too to finish. So I'm going to pause the video, and I'll encourage you to pause the video as well. And we'll come back when we're all finished gluing on all of our tissue paper. All right, how did you do? I finished my mosaic, and as you can see, I've layered lots and lots of different colors on top of each other to create this beautiful mosaic effect. And as I mentioned at the beginning, my tissue paper is hanging off the edge, but since mine is still wet, I'm gonna wait before I cut that off because I don't want my scissors to get all gluey. So let's set this to the side. I'm gonna leave it on top of my newspaper to dry for a few minutes while we do our last design, and then once all the glue has dried, then we can go ahead and cut off the edges. Now for our third and final design. This one's probably the easiest in terms of the number of materials you need. You don't need much, but it might be the trickiest in terms of the art. So if you're up for an art challenge, this is a great design for you. So once again, I'm going to be starting off with my cardboard card with my paper glued on. And this is going to be our floral letters design. So the first thing you need to figure out is, what message do you want to have on the front of your card? Usually a one-word message will work best, since we're going to be creating some really fancy looking letters. So probably a short word, or you could once again use the person's name for this one. I think what I'm going to write on my card is just the word hello. So to start off, I'm going to write my word, hello, in big bubble letters on the card. You could ask an adult in your family to help you draw out the letters if you like, but they definitely don't need to be perfect. Just a rough sketch will do. Here's what mine looks like. As you can see, I made the letters nice and big. And now our next step is to create the beautiful flower design. So in order to do that, we're going to use our markers, any colors you like, and we're just going to start off by making some kind of like blobs of color in our letter stencil. So let me show you what that will look like. All right, so to create the flower design, let's just put some cool, colorful little circles all throughout the different letters. They don't have to be the same size. They don't have to all be the same shape. You can do some circles, some ovals, some triangles, some bigger ones, some smaller ones, whatever you feel like, as long as you kind of stay within the lines of your letters. I'm going to add some little tiny green ovals, and feel free to leave some space in between your little circles and ovals as well. So I'm going to pause the video and we'll come back when I'm all finished. All right, so I finished filling in all of my letters with some colorful blobs. And now the last step is to take a black pen, and that's how you're going to turn all of these little shapes into flowers. So let's zoom in here a little bit. I'm going to start up here with this big blob, and I'm just going to go crazy doodling with my pen and turn all of these cute little circles into flowers with some line art, just like that. I'm going to take these little green blobs here, and I think I'm going to turn them into some leaves, just like that. And I'm going to turn these little tiny purple circles into little tiny flowers. So I'm just going to do some cute little circle art. Now, don't worry too much about your art being perfect, because once you finish filling in the whole entire shape, it's just going to have one full effect. So each little tiny flower can be a little bit lopsided or a little bit wonky, but in the end, it's going to look great. So I have finished filling in all of my letter shapes with my blobs and my flowers, and here's the finished product. So now the last thing we have to do is, I'm just going to go back with an eraser, and I'm going to erase the original pencil line that we made because we don't need it anymore. And the shape of the flowers will turn into the shape of your letters, just like that. So let's take one more look at the finished product. And it's a beautiful card all ready for you to send to your friends. Thank you everyone for joining me in today's Rec from Home video. We made an awesome acrostic poem card, a beautiful tissue paper mosaic card, and lastly, an awesome flower design. I hope you all enjoyed making these crafts as much as I did. Have fun and stay safe. Bye for now.